Most federal employees don't stay because they're loyal. They stay because leaving feels dangerous. No one ever showed them how to exit without blowing up their career. And I know some people don't like hearing that, but it's true. The federal system gives you a handbook for everything: policies, procedures, approvals, chains of command, but not how to leave. And most people don't realize they're stuck until the market starts ignoring them. I've coached GS9s through 15s, security services, analysts, HR compliance, professionals, veterans, and every single one of them hits the same wall. When they try to move into the private sector, same frustration, same confusion, same silence from the recruiters. Here's the truth. It's not that your experience isn't strong. It's that the rules you were trained under don't exist outside government. So if you're a federal employee trying to move into the private sector, listen closely. Because the issue isn't your background, it's how recruiters are reading it. But before we talk about resumes or applications, there's a mistake most people make first, and it quietly crushes their momentum before they ever get traction. Let's start with the first myth. My work should speak for itself. Why this belief still feels right is because this belief didn't come out of nowhere. Inside government, your identity is baked into the system. You're not just a person with experience, you're a GS level, a series, an agency, time and grade, clearance, scope. That combination acts like shorthand inside government. When someone hears your GS level, they instantly assume how senior you are, what kind of decisions you're trusted with, how much scope you have, where you sit in the chain. You don't have to explain everything. The system fills in the blanks. Tenfo, I'm hoping y'all tracking. I'm hoping you picking up what I'm putting down here. If I hear GS9 0343 program analyst inside the government, I assume early to mid-career, supporting planning, tracking, reporting, contributing analysis, not owning final decisions. So when the resume says supported program execution, people inside the government understand the lane. Now, take GS13, same series. That signals experienced analyst leading work streams, briefing leadership, owning outcomes with limited supervision. In GS15, that screams executive level influence. Program strategy, budget, risk, accountability, they get that real heat for decisions inside the government. The title explains the work for you. Why this breaks outside the government? Here's where it collapses. Private sector recruiters do not live in that system. They don't know what GS13 means. They don't know what series number signals. They don't assume scope just because of the grade. So when your resume says provide oversight of program operations, they're not decoding seniority. They're asking, what did you actually do? What changed because you were there? Would I trust this person with money, deadlines, or risk? And if they can't answer that in seconds, they move on. And that's what I mean. See, that's how fast they think with it when they're processing your resume. They can't decode it for you. You have to lay it out on the line. Not because you're unqualified, but because you're unreadable. And that's what ghosting really is all about. But here's the shift that changes everything. Stop leading with the identity. Start leading with impact. You don't rely on GS levels to explain you anymore. You spell out scope and outcomes yourself. 3 moves you can make today. First, replace GS identity with civilian scope. Instead of GS13 program analyst, use program operations analyst, risk reporting, and cross-functional coordination. It's the same truth, but now it's legible. Second, add a scope line under every role, supporting a 12-site program serving 400+ staff, managed compliance tracking for 1,200 cases annually, coordinated reporting across 5 departments. If you don't have dollars, use scale. Recruiters hire for scope, not grade. Third, run this self-test. Say this out loud. If I remove my GS level series and agency name, does my resume still explain what I do, who I help, and why it matters? Because if it collapses without that context, that's not a talent problem. That's a translation gap. And once you see that, the next trap becomes obvious. Myth number 2, overselling is dishonest. Why this belief exists? Because federal culture trains people to be precise, risk avoidance, careful with claims, humble in language, because inside the government, one bad claim can trigger audits, grievances, and endless who approved that change. So you learn to write safe. Safe sounds like assisted with, supported, responsible for, participated in. That language protects you inside the government. What recruiters hear outside the government, safe doesn't sound humble. It sounds like this person didn't own anything. Recruiters aren't grading humility, y'all. They're asking, can this person run the play? Can they deliver without hand-holding? And are they a contributor or a passenger? So when they read assisted with compliance initiatives, they hear, I can't tell what you actually did. The fix isn't bragging. The fix is claiming the part you owned. Use this formula: action, scope, result. Instead of assisted leadership with reports, think about this for a minute. You did much more than just that. Action, you prepared weekly performance reports. That scope helped leadership reallocate staff, and result, close backlog. Quick rule: if your bullet starts with assisted, rewrite it to answer, what did I personally own? That's where your value lives. And even if you fix your language, there's still one system standing between you and an interview. Myth number 3, if I'm qualified, ATS will figure it out. Why this belief exists? Because government hiring teaches you trust the system. HR reviews fairly, qualifications rise, so you trust the process. Private sector isn't trust the process, it's survive the filter. What ATS actually does, let me slow this down because this matters. ATS doesn't infer, it doesn't translate, and it matches exact language. I've seen candidates with perfect experience get filtered out before a human ever sees them. Not because they weren't qualified, but because one word didn't match. If the job description says audit readiness, risk mitigation, cross-functional, stakeholders, and your resume says oversight, compliance support, liaison, you don't look similar, you look invisible. But here's the fix in 3 moves. First, mirror the top keywords honestly. Pull 8 to 12 phrases from the job description and reflect them naturally in your summary, your skills, your bullets. Second, build a translation bank. Liaison becomes cross-functional coordination. Oversight becomes risk management or audit readiness. Brief leadership becomes executive reporting, man. Third, use punchline plus proof bullets. Punchline is the outcome. Proof is how you achieved it. Reduced compliance risk by closing audit gaps early. By reviewing items weekly and escalating issues. Federal versus civilian language. Let me show you what this looks like when it's done right. Federal resume says responsible for oversight of compliance activities. Recruiters need to hear led compliance reviews that improved audit readiness and reduced risk exposures. Federal says served as liaison between departments, civilian translation, coordinated cross-functional teams to resolve issues and keep projects on track. Nothing changed about the work, only the translation did. That's the biggest difference between paragraphs and punchlines. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down because I'm trying to keep it real. But this is a quick check-in. What feels hardest right now? Are you translating your experience, fixing your resume, or getting past the filters? Drop it in the comments. I read them all. Now, here's the part most people don't realize. Even when you translate your experience correctly, some federal roles still don't convert cleanly to private sector jobs. And that's not a failure. It just means that the strategy has to change. So in the next video, I break down 3 federal roles that consistently struggle to convert. And more importantly, what to do instead if that role is yours. If you've ever thought, why am I doing everything right and still not getting interviews? That's the video you need to watch next. And I'll see you there right here.